Praise the Lord, my dear kids. What does it mean to make a promise to someone? Describe a time when you have made a promise or someone else has made a promise to you. We don't keep 100% of the promises we make, do we? We might have really good intentions to do what we say we will do. But sometimes we forget or we decide that we would rather do something else entirely. There is only one person who keeps his promises 100% of the time, and that is God. Today, we will hear a story about how God called a man named Abraham to follow him, and we will hear about the promise that God made to Abraham. We will learn that God uses people He calls to fulfill His promises. God would open your hearts to hear His word. A man by the name of Abraham was living in the city of Haran. When he heard God's voice telling him to pack his family and his belongings and move to the land of Canaan, Abram was 75 years old at the time. Can you imagine, kids, if God asked you to leave behind everything that was familiar to you to go to a foreign land where you didn't know anyone? How do you think you would respond to God? As hard as it must have been for Abraham to leave behind 75 years worth of memories, he trusted God and he obeyed. Abraham believed that God uses people He calls to fulfill His promises. So, Abraham packed up his family, his wife Sarai and cousin Lot, his servants, and all their belongings, and they set out for the land of Canaan, just like God had told him. God must have known that Abraham needed some encouragement, because God also gave him this promise. Genesis 12th chapter 2-3 verses said, I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Wow, what a promise! God told Abraham that He would make his family so big that they would be their own nation. God also said that the whole world would be blessed because of Abraham's family. What makes this promise so miraculous is that Abraham was 75 at the time, and he and his wife Sarai didn't have any children. Abraham might not have understood exactly how God was going to fulfill His promise, but he knew that he could trust God's plan because God uses people He calls to fulfill His promises. Abraham and his family arrived in the land of Canaan, where God had told him to go. When they arrived, Abraham built an altar to the Lord and worshipped Him there. Then God said, Look around from where you are, to the north and south, to the east and west. All the land that you see, I will give to you. and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and the breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. God uses people He calls to fulfill His promises. As we continue through the story of Abraham, we will see how God used him in amazing ways to bring about the promises He made. My dear kids, who remembers the 3 things God promised Abraham? Yes, he would be a great nation. The world would be blessed through his family. God would give them the land of Canaan. God promised that the whole world would be blessed through Abraham's family. You see, God knew that ever since Adam and Eve sinned in the Garden of Eden, people had a great big problem. That problem was sin, and it separated them from God. God knew the people He had created needed to be rescued, but there was nothing they could do to save themselves. But God had a rescue mission all planned out from the very beginning, and He would use Abraham and his family to bring it about. Did you know that Jesus was born into Abraham's family? God used Abraham to be the father of a great nation, the Israelites, and Jesus would come into the world through that nation. God would use Abraham's family to bring salvation to the entire world. Abraham had no idea at that time what an important job God called him to. But he trusted God and believed that God uses people He calls to fulfill His promises.